Well, to me, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC East. Not only on paper, and really over the last couple of years, I thought when you look at Dallas, their roster, they were probably the best team in the NFC East. This is what I know about Dallas, and this is just as important as having a really good roster. They can't win the big game. They can't win the important game. So I'm not as worried about them. They're going to be tough to beat. We understand that. But the big games, they have always struggled to win.
Into the mix now. Yes, the man who was
worthy.
Co-authored The Mouse Who Played Football, the one and only B. West, Brian Westbrook. What's up, Brian?
Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon. Sorry that I'm late. I had an autograph signing for our book, The Mouse Who Played Football, right here, and I was running a little late. I apologize to you guys.
Bro, that's great, man. You know,
man, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
We're happy for you, man. So tell us about the book and what made you want to write this? I know you co-authored it with Leslie Van Arsdale. Philadelphia folks may know her from CBS 3 and KYW. Just give us a little background on what got you to this point, and here we are.
Well, about 2 years ago, Leslie called me and said, listen, I have a great idea for a book. It's loosely, just loosely related to you. It's loosely related and kind of created around your life, the things that have happened, the adversity that you faced, the doubt that you faced to become a football player in the NFL, from high school to college to the NFL. And I wanted to talk to you about the idea. Of course, her husband, Mark Meany, is a Villanova grad, someone that I admired for a long time, worked with for a long time. And so I took the call and we talked about her vision, talked about the book. And most importantly, I'm a young dad. I have 3 kids, 9, 5, and 3, Bria, Brian, and Brielle. And so every night I'm reading kids' books to them. Most of them have a meaning. Most of them have something at the end that says, listen, this is what we're trying to teach you. This is what we want you to learn. And as you continue to read those books, you're like, hey, as a parent, you guys all know, you can talk to your kids until you're blue in the face about something. And it's not until someone else tells them that they really get it, right? It's not until in the book, it's like, oh, that's what you mean. And you're like, right. That for the last 5 years, right? And so I just felt like this was the right time to do it. If Leslie would have came to me 20 years ago when I was 22, that absolutely would not have been the right time. This is the right time because this book is about meaning. It's about saying, people have this thought that you're going to be here. And if your expectation and your thought is that you're going to be up here, then follow your thought, follow your gut. Don't listen to other people's opinion. Don't listen to other people's thoughts. This is about what you want to do, how successful you want to be in life. And if you do that, you'll be right where you want to be. And that's what this book is all about. And, it's been a long process for us, 2-year process, but we've enjoyed it every step of the way.
So B. West, going along in life, high school, college, pros, how much did you use the lack of height, so to speak, as that proverbial chip on your shoulders to excel and to continuously prove people wrong?
Who said lack of height? Did I say lack of?
Come on, Gunner. What are you trying to do, man?
The book. What? Look, you said the book. Hold up. I got a copy of the book. Look. What?
I'm almost 6 foot.
With platform shoes up from the 90, you might be 6 feet.
No, so I think, over the course of my journey, people, and I'll give you a perfect example. Went to the Senior Bowl and, the coach was like, listen, you're going to be a third down back. That's all you're going to be. You're going to be a special teamers. That's all you're going to be. And my expectation was much different. My thought process was much different of what I wanted to be in the NFL. And that happened to me continuously throughout my career. You're not big enough to do this. You're not strong enough to do that. You're not fast enough to be this. And if my thought process differed from that, it was up to me. It was up to my hard work. It was up to my determination, my skill set to be able to make a difference. And when you talk about adding chips on the shoulder, those were just another opportunity for me to say, okay, cool. You don't think I can do it? Boom, I'm going to prove you wrong. That's my purpose. That's what I want to do. And, this book kind of outlines some of those things. And even when Stump Mitchell said to me at the Senior Bowl in the All-Star game that you're only going to be playing on third down and those special teams, I was like, what are you talking about? And quite honestly, I've seen Stump Mitchell a million times throughout my 9-year career, and he's always trying to engage. But it's been that short conversation that we had before that All-Star game that never allowed me to have a liking to Stump Mitchell, only because I thought that I wanted to be a regular every down running back. That was my goal. and he didn't want to give me the opportunity based upon what he heard, and I didn't think that was fair. I didn't think that was right. And that's what we kind of talk about in this book.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to have expectations. They're going to have thought processes about you. And again, you don't have to listen to any of that. Where you're going to go in life depends on what you want to do, how hard you want to work, and what you want to get.
Hey, can I point out the irony that Stump Mitchell is the guy telling you that?
Exactly.
I mean, really?
I'm trying to keep from laughing when he says Stump Mitchell.
If it was some behemoth, gigantic running back, or former running back, I might buy it. But Stump's telling me this? Like, really, dude? You should be with me here. Like, you had a great career.
And just remember, now this is an all-star game. Just imagine going to a basketball all-star game and your son plays, 2 minutes. I'm like, hold on, time out. This is an all-star game so that I can show that I'm good at play. And, I've been battling all week long in the practices and things like that. Then come game time, he's like, we're not even going to put you in so that you can at least show that you have potential. And I was disappointed. But again, that was a situation that allowed me to build that thought process. Like, it's us against the world. The Eagles thought process a few years back. It's us against the world. That chip on your shoulder. No one likes you. No one respects you. Now you got to go out there and earn it. That's the thought process I've carried throughout my career. And that's something that we wanted to put in this book, because remember, there's a lot of other kids that go through that same thing, whether it's their height or whether you're not smart enough, whether you're not fast enough, all the different things you go through with sports, but also all the other things you go through with life, period. And those are the messages that I want to give to my children. Those are the types of messages that I want to give to others. And Leslie has 2 beautiful little boys. Those are the messages that she wanted to share with her sons as well.
Well,
cool, man.
First off, I want to say I appreciate you, man. You know what I'm saying? I call you a friend. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate you, man. But you showed me the way also. I've been thinking about writing a children's book also, and just put things in perspective. Stump Mitchell was going to probably be a part of it, because I got my first pair of roofs from Stump Mitchell from Vasikahema, giving me, going bring me in the locker room, and Stump is the one that gave me the shoes, because I wore a size 12 at the time. I was 11 years old. I wore a size 12, and he wore a size 12, and because Vi was like a size 10 or something like that. I couldn't fit his, but I got my first pair of roofs from Stump Mitchell. So I mean, that just says, just put things in perspective with me, man. But I can remember you talking about this book. You told me about a year and a half ago, about you were writing a book. You were thinking about writing a book, and you think you're going to go ahead and go with it. I was like, man, if you can do it, man, big ups to you. So now I see that you've done it. Now I can go do it now, man. So I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, for giving me now, the okay that I know I can do it now, man. I appreciate that, bro.
You know what's ironic? I mean, of course, you're a friend. We've known each other for a long time. But some of the lessons that we learned in this game, right? In order to survive in this league, it's about grown men. It's about being a professional. It's about being accountable, being on time, not making the same mistake twice. We've learned so many messages that our children need to know.
Yes.
Need to know not to be a professional football player, because this book has nothing to do about being a professional football player. This has lessons about everyday life. This has lessons that we need our children to understand, whether they play sports, whether they go to, or they're academic, whether they want to be a carpenter, whether they want to be a lawyer, whatever you want to do. These are important lessons that we've learned along the way, that I learned along the way. And when you talk about your book, I'm sure it would include lessons that you learned along the way that are critical for the growth and development of our young kids. And
no question.
It's all about Leslie and I talk about it all the time. We want to give back to our children, right? We want to give back and leave a legacy for our kids. The reason why, we made a kids book is because we think our kids are so important and our future is so important. But the other part is this: 50% of the proceeds of this book will go directly to a charity to help empower young children, to give them the ability and to understand that you have the access to be anything in the world. Our children so many times go through life and say, I can only be this. They go through life with blinders on, right? And I want our kids to understand that you don't have to go through life with blinders on. You can go through life with a clear view that you can be anything in the world that you possibly are willing to work hard for, you're willing to sacrifice for, and you're determined to be able to do. We want to give back to them. That's why 50% of the proceeds from this book will go directly to children's charity. And that's why the messages in this book are all based upon children, really adults too. But, we're just trying to help, and at the end of the day, that's what one of our biggest goals were. And when
that's amazing.
Hey, Brian,
Amazing.
we consider ourselves our own worst critics, whether you're an artist, musician, journalist, athlete, whatever the case may be. So now that you've had a time is to sit back and really read, study, analyze the book in its final publication, you know, did you come away saying I'm thoroughly satisfied with what was published, or did you look at it and say, I wish I'd included this, or I wish this might have been worded just a little bit differently?
When I look at the book, Mr. Tom illustrated it. I mean, just did a wonderful job of the pictures. Again, creativity for the kids so they can use their imagination. The hard part with the children's book is that, I don't know, we're 15, 20 pages, whatever the amount of pages are. There are so many lessons that you want to put in there that you can't include everything. You can't say, hey, I got a 200-page children's book. That makes no sense. I have to be able to read this to the kids in 10, 15 minutes at nighttime. There are so many things that we want to put in here, and it just gets your mind starting to think that maybe this is a children's series. Maybe this is the mouse who played football, but also the mouse that this is someone on Twitter told me this. What about the mouse that took a knee on the 1 yard line? What about that? Or the mouse that mouse that had a punt return. And again, it's not about the individual mouse. It's about the team aspect of everything. And everything that we're doing, like your TV show, you guys podcast, things like that. This is a team. This is us against the world. This is us trying to prove ourselves and be able to do all the things that we dream to accomplish. That's what it's all about.
B. West, let me ask you a little birds just to kind of jump around a little bit here. Much of the talk here in the city has been about the length of practices, right? And Barrett's been down there a couple of days. He's made it a point to say they're getting a lot done in that short period of time. Don't get nuts with how long it goes. But I'm just curious, as a guy, you had Andy, a lot more hardcore than what goes on now. Where do you stand with this?
Hey, listen, if you can get the work done in the whatever hour and a half, hour 15 minutes, hour 45 minutes, then do it. Get it done and get off the field. I was a part of an era that we had. Andy had no problem standing out there for 3 hours on a Tuesday afternoon in Pennsylvania. He had no problem doing that. I'm an efficiency type of guy. If we can find a way to make breaks shorter, to make these sessions shorter, to make sure guys get the work in and then get off their feet, I'm absolutely for that. The most important part to that, Rob, is get your work in. If you don't get your work in, then we're spinning our wheels. If you can get your work in and allow the guys some rest period, then I'm absolutely for that. I am the old school minded that you got to do this, you got to do that. But at the same time, I mean, if we can do it quicker and more efficiently, let's do it that way.
Nice.
Sirianni's camp, and I'm sure others around the league have already said that they're not going to tackle to the ground. Do you think training camp need to include that tackling to the ground to get your body and your mind where it needs to be before you kick off the regular season?
I'll tell you a quick story. So we always had free agents coming in, and most places in the NFL, even when I was playing, they rarely tackle to the ground. Andy Reid believed in it. He was like, ones versus two, we're tackling to the ground a period or two every single day. And when guys would come from other teams to the Eagles, they were shocked at the amount of the physicalness, the physicality of our practices. They're like, what are we doing? We're beating up each other. And to that point, there were times we started the season and we were banged up just to start the season because of what we went through during August and training camp like that, to the point I would dare to venture our record in September wasn't as good as it probably should have been because a lot of guys were still banged up, recovering from training camp. And so I do believe you have to have a certain level of physicality. Do I want my guys beat up going into the season? Absolutely not. And so if there's a fine line between that, that's where you want to live. But, I mean, how do you practice getting tackled? How do you practice punching somebody in the face if you're an offensive lineman or defensive lineman or a linebacker tackling if you never do it in practice? Right. And I guess when you think about the big scheme of things, if everyone's doing it, meaning not really tackling to the ground, everyone in the league is not going to be very good at tackling, and it'll get better as things go on. But the coaches have said they're willing to sacrifice missed tackles and, the right fits if you're an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, for the ability to say we have healthy guys. And if you have a healthy football team, you're going to win an awful lot of games. So I do kind of understand that as well.
Well, let me ask you this, man. Looking at how this team is constructed right now and going to this season, I think the very least, the quarterback needs at least 2 series of real game type situational football. He's not going to get it because he didn't play it all last year, and they were just learning Jalen Hurts. Do you see them doing it again this year, or do you see him at least getting a series or 2 this season? With only 3 preseason games.
I think there's no way that he's going to play in the preseason. They didn't play him last year, and last year he probably needed much more than this year. They didn't know who the heck Jalen Hurts was as a player last year, and I to some point, I still think that belief is still there. They're not 100% sure who this new Jalen Hurts is going to be, but they didn't do it last year. Nick Sirianni has his belief. The same way the Big Red had his belief. We're going to practice hard. We're going to tackle to the ground. We're going to do all this stuff. That was his belief. Nick Sirianni is a younger coach. He believes that these joint practices are much more important. We didn't have the joint practices back in the day.
Not really, no.
Big time importance on these joint practices. And in order for him to get the best out of his guys, he's going to make sure he goes hard during those practices. And that's more important than a game. And he's able to control it more importantly than what you can do in the game. And so I don't see Jalen Hurts playing in the preseason at all. And quite honestly, if my quarterback is not playing, then Devontae Smith probably ain't going to play in my mind. AJ, I mean, there's just a list of players that I wouldn't want out there if my quarterback's not going to play either. So, that's just the way things go. And again, the emphasis is on these joint practices for this coaching staff.
Yeah, and the other complication, Brian, if you're thinking about putting Hurts out there, you better have your starting offensive lineman out there. Because you have 2s or 3s in there and he gets lit up by one of those opposing defensive players, man, hell breaks loose then.
One of my fears, and I played just a little bit my rookie year with the starting offensive with Donovan. And one of my biggest fears, why I studied so hard, was because I didn't want to be the guy that gave up a sack for Donovan McNabb in the preseason. That's a guaranteed way to never be on the field again, right? And so that was one of my biggest fears. How do I not give up a sack, especially with Donovan back there early on in my career? It's super important. And Rob, that's a great point that if you don't have your starting O-line out there, especially Jason Kelce, directing, making sure everyone's in the right place at the right time, you definitely can't have your starting quarterback out there. So it probably follows and makes sense at that point.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I don't. Okay, go ahead, Barry.
I was just saying, just from an offensive line standpoint, man, fits and positions, and I mean, how does a running back get used to following blocks and really reading things when he doesn't have an opportunity? Because right now they're playing 1-2 cha-cha-cha. You go up to hit the guy, you fit in, and then everybody's feet start slowing down. How do you as a running back get used to running behind the offensive line like that? So when you get in the game, it's going to be accelerating. These offensive linemen haven't finished blocks yet, I mean, that's going to be tough for not just the offensive line, but the running backs, tight ends getting their timing right. I mean, all that stuff, man, is a unit. And that's why I said it takes the offense at least a week and a half, 2 weeks to get used to the speed of the defense. Because defense is easy. You just get there, somebody make a mistake, there's somebody there that can make it happen. The offense has to be in concert, all 11 guys, man. So you can explain the importance of how all those guys have to cohesively match together in order for them to be successful?
Well, yeah. When you talk about especially offensive line play, I need all 5 of my guys moving in the right direction, getting up to the right blocks and their fits at the same time, at the right time, so that my timing as a running back can be perfect. Again, you can do some of it during practice and certainly some of it during some drills and things like that, but you probably won't get the real feel of it until it's game time, until you have the opportunity to do it under fire, right? And that's going against another team. You'll be able to get some of it during those control periods, during those joint practices. But you're right. Now you have to hope that Miles Sanders, his pass, the ability over the last 3 years kind of translate into game time thing. Again, we also got to remember this, B. These kids have had these types of practices for probably most of their career. So they're doing shorter and swifter type of practices. They're not used to – if they had to go back to days like us, they probably would revolt and go crazy. Right? They're used to doing it this way. So I think they'll probably be okay. But for a running back, it's a feel thing. When you talk about some of the great running backs in the league, and I think Miles Sanders is a really good running back, it's a feel thing. I need to be able to feel it. And if we're not going full speed and I got guys flying around not doing the right stuff, then I won't be able to feel the right thing. That's the one thing that I want to feel during the game. So, yeah, practicing it is certainly an important thing.
And not only that, B. West, but you're talking about the continuity between your starting quarterback and a new receiver. Now, we know they're boys, they've come a long way together. They've been friends for a long time. But getting that continuity and not just running a play, but maintaining that eye contact, get the feel for just being able to look at each other and say, okay, I'm going to adjust this based on what I'm seeing across the line of scrimmage for me. I'm going to adjust my route this way. And that quarterback knowing it. I don't disagree with you that we may not see Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown for that matter in a preseason game, but that takes a little bit longer than 1 or 2 games in a lot of cases to get that kind of continuity and the unwritten continuity between them down to a pat.
Well, when you talk about continuity, no one in the league did it better than Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, right?
Exactly.
They're kind of talking without even saying words.
Exactly.
Like, this is the defense. I already know what I want you to do, and you know what I want you to do.
Yep.
That's something that they have to work on. And again, this is while Jalen Hurts improves as a player.
Yeah.
He's going to be okay. He'll figure out how to get open. Can Jalen Hurts be able to deliver the ball? Can he understand where the defenses has their weaknesses and then be able to attack that? We haven't been able to see that quite yet. And to be honest with you, before the first game, unless we hear from the coaches or people that practice, we probably won't be able to see that. And so those are big-time concerns for me. How well would those guys be able to adjust to that? And let's say they can't. That first game, what happens when you can't adjust? Oh, I thought he was running a 5-yard in. He's running a 5-yard out. Those equal turnovers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Those
Pick
are,
six.
So
That's
I
right.
want to be able to see these guys have some type of continuity. And I know they're in the offseason. I know they've done all that. It's different when you got other people covering you, right? We understand that.
Yep,
And so
that's right.
I just hope that they have that continuity. And I also hope that Nick Sirianni remains flexible. Last year, he showed his flexibility to say, hey, I wanted to be a passing offense starting. And then he pivoted to become a running team. Hopefully, he doesn't have to make that pivot. And if he doesn't, that means Jalen Hurts has improved dramatically from last year. And I hope that's the case.
Hey, Brian, last one from me, man. I'm just curious what your assessment of the NFC East. You obviously you keep a close eye on the Eagles, but I know, you ties to Maryland, New York. You're looking at the Giants. You're looking at Washington. You're looking at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
How do you think this thing shakes up?
Well, to me, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC East, not only on paper, and really over the last couple of years. I thought when you look at Dallas, their roster, they were probably the best team in the NFC East. This is what I know about Dallas, and this is just as important as having a really good roster. They can't win the big game. They can't win the important game. So I'm not as worried about them. They're going to be tough to beat. We understand that. But the big game, they have always struggled to win. When you talk about the Giants, Daniel Jones, they haven't quite figured that thing out, have not figured out the offensive line and the defensive line, even though they drafted in those positions. You got young players playing there. I think we're much better than the Giants, especially getting Bradbury here instead of there in New York. That's certainly helpful. When you talk about Washington, Washington's my hometown team. They're like good one year, the bad another year. The good one year. So this is probably the year where they're going to be a little bit better than expected. It all comes down to Carson Wentz. And how can you trust him? Three different teams, 3 different years. Can you trust Carson Wentz to lead your football team? Or will at some point in the middle of the season, the guys on our roster say, you know what? I don't like that guy. I don't like the way he's acting. I don't like him as a teammate. And if that happens, that's a big-time issue. And quite honestly, that has happened in the past for Carson Wentz. So,
all right, Brian,
question marks.
All right, Brian, do you like what you see from the Washington team? They bring in a Carson Wentz who obviously has to look in the mirror and find out exactly what is he or what is he not? How is he want to be perceived? They go out and spend a first-round pick on Jahan Dotson, the wide receiver. They give Terry McLaurin his money. Chase Young, who's one of the young premier edge rushers, is coming back from an ACL tear. Do you like what you see on paper from this Washington team?
I love what I see from this Washington team. They have an aggressive, fast-moving defense, a team that wants to get after you just a little bit. I still wonder about them on the back end as far as some of the receivers face inside of our division. I think we'll be able to take advantage of them throwing the football. I think running the football is going to be tough against that group. But when you look at that team on the offensive side of the ball, they have the ability to attack you down the field. Carson Wentz, big arm. He will throw it deep. Terry McLaurin, speed. Dotson, speed. You have some guys that can get it done. Gibson as a running back is a very qualified running back in the offense as far as running the football and catching it outside as well. So, I mean, you have some possibilities. The quarterback position in Washington has been the heel for a very long time. If Carson Wentz can kind of rally the troops and figure things out there, then you're talking about a formidable foe, but they haven't done it in a very long time.
Right.
I still think we're better than Washington. Again, when I look on paper, we're the best team in the NFC East. Now, a lot of that still depends on Jalen Hurts. I think he's good enough with this reformed and refreshed defense that we have to still be the best team in the NFC East.
All right, let's remind everybody, Brian, the mouse who played football. Yes, where can people
go get it?
Yeah,
Get
where
it,
can
baby.
people get
Keep
it,
it
Brian?
coming.
Yeah, you can get it at Amazon right now. I don't know if this is backwards on your. Oh,
No, we
yeah.
see it. Yep.
There you go.
Play football. You can get it on Amazon, wherever you buy your books. We're having an event this Thursday, August 4th at 12 noon at the Free Library of Philadelphia. We'll be on Good Day Philadelphia early in the morning on Thursday as well. You know, we're just so excited about this book, and it's more than just a book. Again, this is about lessons for our children, but this is also a great opportunity to invest in our kids because 50% of our proceeds will go directly to children's charities. That's what this is all about.
Love it, Brian. By the way, I like this score 36-20. I know the significance.
Yeah, there you go.
Your two uniform numbers, man. Nice,
right.
Nice little touch there for sure. Brian, listen, man, all the best. We know it's going to kill it, and we're looking forward to talking to you soon, man. Take care.
Absolutely,
we'll see
bro.
you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, B. West. All right, man.
Got it, Brian West.
Hey, man.